All right, everybody, we're back at it. Still looking at running backs in the draft, and this time we're going more sleepery. And I'll say this right now: when it comes to finding running backs, I am a big fan of trying to find them in the later rounds. I feel like there are a ton of quality running backs in that area. You just need to find them, and you just need to put them in the right situation. Obviously, they're not going to be as athletic or talented as the top guys, but I feel like you can get good value. You can get competent starters, good starters, even sometimes very good starters in the late rounds, sometimes even UDFA. So I'm really looking at these next 6 guys that we're going to take a look at in this video, trying to figure out who makes sense. So let's start with Rashad White from Arizona State. Decent size, 6'2", 210 pounds. Ran a sub 4.540, so not fast. I guess you wouldn't totally call him slow, but not up to the standard of the 4 guys we looked at yesterday. He only really has 1 year of significant production. He had 1,000 yards rushing and 450 yards receiving. So he did it both ways. He can play all 3 downs. That's one of the things that is really appealing about him. He can play first, second, third, fourth down. He can do it all. This is somebody who could absolutely come in and I think be a little like Chris Carson. If you take a look at the big boards, the Draft Network really likes him. They think he has a chance to be low third, but I think most places are putting him more in that 4th, maybe 5th round range. So I would expect to be able to get him on day 3 for sure. And Rashad White, he's patient, got good vision back. He's an excellent pass catcher. Obviously, he got 43 passes in 2021. Great fit for a zone blocking scheme, which is what we're trying to do. He can play all 3 downs, like I said. He's got solid power at the end of his runs as well. He can bowl somebody over and go pick up that extra 2 yards to get the first down. And that definitely has value. In fact, he's a guy who I look at and go, would this be a nice replacement for Chris Carson? And he might be even better on 3rd down than Chris Carson is. He is a he is a quality pass blocker as well, and that's definitely important for what we're considering here. Just overall, a nice player. The cons would be he runs a little upright. He has kind of what they call a high center of gravity, a little easier to take down. He's not really agile. He's not going to Barry Sanders a lot of people into the turf and make them miss in open space. You're not going to see that kind of stuff with him. He did fumble a little bit in college, so you could call him a little bit of a fumbler. Like I said, he's a little bit slow, but Rashad White, decent option to look at in the 4th, maybe even the 5th round for me. Okay, next guy is Kyron Williams of Notre Dame. This guy's one of the smallest guys we're going to look at today. 5'9", so shorter than me, 194 pounds, lighter than me, and yet he runs a 4.6540. So you might be wondering, well, okay, what do you see in him? Well, he was very productive in college playing for Notre Dame, and it's not like Western Kentucky, Chattanooga or something. It's a real school. Over 1,000 rushing yards last 2 years and over 300 receiving yards the last 2 years. Had almost 80 career catches across those 2 seasons. Ran for over 5 yards a carry. Had about 30 touchdowns. So productive. And that production earned him a 4th round grade from most big boards. A couple of them snuck him into that 3rd. But I think you are looking at probably about a 4th round guy. He's a good blocker on top of being a good receiver, so he can play all 3 downs. He might be the best blocking running back in this draft, actually. Obviously, he's a great pass catcher as well. He's got good vision, knows how to read the blocking, find the hole, and then go through the hole. He does run tougher than his size, and I know that's not saying much, but he is tougher than his size. He is relatively elusive in terms of using his vision to set things up for himself, and he can line up as a wide receiver, so added bonus versatility value there. The cons, very obviously, he's slow. 4.65 is that's definitely pushing it for a running back. You wouldn't call him explosive. He's not going to turn on the jets at the end of any runs and turn a 20-yard gain into a 50-yard gain just because he outruns everybody. Doesn't really run with power. I know I said he runs tougher than his size, but it's not like he's bowling people over. He's not Maurice Jones-Drew over here. A little bit of a fumbler as well. Lost the ball sometimes. Ball security issues. Not great in space overall. in terms of actually making people miss. I don't know how often you're expecting to get a guy who's going to make people miss at this point in the draft, but for whatever it's worth, that's not really Kyron Williams. So you're looking at a guy who you might say there's nothing really remarkable about him. Nothing about him is really all that exciting to me. But Kyron Williams, interesting option. I think that you could also look at him as like a Chris Carson replacement, a smaller Chris Carson. I don't know if his added value on third down outweighs the fact that he is not really running with power, but I've heard worse ideas. All right, so third guy we're going to take a look at here is Tyler Allgeier. I hope I got that right, of Brigham Young. And this is a little more of a traditionally sized running back, but has some of the same shortcomings. Let's take a look here at his profile. Brigham Young, 5'11", 220 pounds, ran a 4.640, so a little better than Kyron, but still pretty slow. Last 2 years, the dude has produced quite well. He had 1,300 yards in 2020 with 13 touchdowns, but the real season where he really put himself out there was 2021, 1,600 yards, almost 6 yards a carry, 28 catches, 200 receiving yards, 23 touchdowns. Earned himself a little bit of credit on some of these big boards. The Draft Network thinks he's a fourth rounder. PFF actually thinks he's a third rounder. CBS thinks that he's a fourth rounder. A couple other places think that he's more like a low fifth, maybe sixth, even seventh rounder. But he's probably getting drafted. So what's to like about Tyler if you can land him in like the fifth round, maybe even the seventh round? Who knows? He's a good fit for the zone scheme. He runs aggressively and physically. He knows how to use his girth, knows how to power people over. Despite that, he is relatively agile. He does have quick acceleration, so it's not like he's just a pure power back. He is a pretty decent pass catcher, and he's got good vision to find the holes. So he's somebody who you can give the ball to, have him run to the outside a little bit, look for the hole, and then burst through it. That's what we're looking for in this offense. The cons are he is slow. When I said he's agile earlier, I want to be clear. He is agile for a guy of his size. He's not agile compared to the truly agile backs out there. He's not going to Barry Sanders people. He's not that. He is a little bit of a fumbler. Ball security issues abound. Despite him being a competent pass catcher, he's not a very good blocker yet. Needs to work on that if he wants to become a full-on third down back. And while I do think he runs with some power and physicality, he does need to do a little bit better running inside with power. His power is more like taking on a guy one-on-one and bowling him over for extra yards, it seems like. He needs to be able to just push the pile a little bit. But Tyler Allgeier, interesting prospect, somebody you could get maybe very late in the draft. And I give him a chance. Okay, moving along to the next name, we've got Zamir White, another Georgia back, sharing the backfield with James Cook. 6 feet tall, 250 pounds, ran a nice 40, 4.4 flat, so speed not a big problem here. He has 2 years of not stellar production, but look, that also keeps the tread off the tires, so it's a give and take with that. In 2021, he had 850 yards, 5.5 yards a carry, 11 touchdowns. Not much of a receiver. Obviously, James Cook was the receiving back in that backfield. And the only big board I found that loves him is Walter Football. They think he's actually a day 2 pick. Tankathon thinks as well, but the others think he's a day 3 pick. A couple of them later in day 3 as well. So Zamir White was the Yang to James Cook's yin or something like that. He's a more physical back. He is relatively explosive in terms of being able to get to the second or third level and then just taking off. He can push through contact. He's a good fit for his own scheme, I think. That's something that kind of recurs with all the guys I'm looking at here. He's got a good burst into the open field. He's got good open field vision as well. He can make people miss in the open field. Just using, setting things up with his eyes. He cuts through lanes well, and he is fast. 4.4 is very good for this range of the draft. That's why some people think he's actually going to go higher than day 3. Now, the cons are he's tore his ACL twice, and that did rob him of some of his explosiveness. Previously, in previous years, he was somebody who you could have looked at as maybe being maybe even a top 50 running back, I don't know. But 2 ACL tears later, the explosiveness isn't quite what it used to be. So you're not going to see as many carries where he just turns on the jets and beats everybody to the end zone. He's also useless on third down. I think he's not much of a pass catcher and doesn't seem like he's a good blocker at this point either. So I don't think you're getting a third down back here. You are getting a early down back, first down, second down, run heavy situations almost exclusively. So that limits his value. But there's some stuff here to like for sure. Okay, next we got Abram Smith. This is somebody I talked about a little bit previously. Baylor running back. Bigger guy, slower guy. 5'11", 221 pounds, 4.5540. Only really has 1 year of running back production because he was actually playing linebacker, which, by the way, actually goes for Tyler Algier as well. I think he played linebacker for a while. But that 1 year was very good for him. 1,600 rushing yards, 13 catches, 12 touchdowns, efficient. CBS actually thinks he has a chance at being a very late day 2 pick, but everywhere else has him as a 5th to 7th round pick if getting drafted at all. So the things to like about Abram Smith are he's a great fit for his own scheme, great vision inside the tackles. Sounds a little like Chris Carson. He's a short yardage wizard. His role in the NFL is likely going to be as a short yardage back, somebody who you can trust to power over and just go get that extra couple of yards to pick up the first and move the chains. Good finisher, knows how to finish runs, getting those extra tough yards, good pass protector, and he's got special teams value. So you are getting some bonus value in that regard. Again, when I look at Abram Smith, I do see the Chris Carson comp very clearly. That may be what we're looking at him for. The cons are he's got a little bit of a high center of gravity. He is somewhat slow. Doesn't have a burst if he ever breaks into the open field. He's not running to the end zone faster than everyone else. The injury history is a little problematic. And he's not agile, not making people miss in the open field. Okay, so now we got one more guy to take a look at here, and this one's going to excite a lot of people. It is Max Borghi of the Cougars, of the Washington State Cougars. And basically, if Christian McCaffrey was a lot worse at football, he would be Max Borghi, I think. 5'9", 210 pounds, so he's actually got a little bit of girth to him. I'm taller than him, but he's heavier than me. And ran a 4.540, so we're not off to the best of starts here, but what makes Max Borghi nice is his versatility as a player. 2018, he only had 366 yards rushing, but he had more receiving. He was actually a more prolific receiver than runner. 2019, he had 86 catches to go with 817 efficient rushing yards. So, dude is a great receiver out of the backfield. Dude, I think he even lines up wide occasionally for the Washington State offense. 2020, he only got to play 1 game because of COVID. 2021, he came back, had another good year. Was not nearly prolific as a receiver, but that's because Washington State changed their coach from Mike Leach. Overall, the only big board I found that really likes Borghi is Walter Football. They actually think he has a 4th to 5th round grade, maybe even round 3. Everywhere else thinks that he's going to either go undrafted or go in the bottom of the 7th. He's great at using blockers, great at setting up blockers with his vision. He's explosive for what he is. Good with the ball. He protects the ball. Great receiver, obviously. 86 catches in 1 year is pretty crazy. He's more powerful than his size would indicate. He does have a lot of strength in his lower body. He can block. He's going to be a good third down back in the NFL. He's explosive, again, for what he is. He also adds value on special teams. The issues with Max Borghi are obviously, what does he do on the first 2 downs? What does he do on short yardage? He's not really a guy you want to trust on the inside runs. He's not necessarily elusive. He's got a little bit of wiggle to his waggle, but not really. You wouldn't call him elusive. His route running needs work, which sounds weird, but he did a lot of his catches against open air. He wasn't like beating people on these great routes that he ran. So Max Borghi may fall to the 7th. If you can get him in there, I'm feeling pretty excited about it. And that's all we got. Those are my 6 running backs. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you think I missed anybody. I definitely did. There are a lot of interesting late round running backs. But see you guys later. Go Hawks.